Parliament demands an immediate certificate of urgency to repeal the 1 cedi fuel tax. And international news, strikes by Israel and Iran continue as the conflict between the two countries intensifies. We have details of these and many more coming up shortly. Please stay with us. Many thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Safwa Boyne. Now let's settle for the details now. And the minority caucus in Parliament is demanding that Parliament be urgently reconvened to repeal the levy altogether, insisting the postponement is wholly inadequate. This follows the second postponement by the Ghana Revenue Authority of the implementation of the controversial Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025.
In a statement issued on Sunday, June 15, the minority condemned the postponement of the implementation ahead of its scheduled commencement on June 16. The minority described the move as evidence of government's chaotic and inconsistent approach to economic governance. The statement said the 11th hour U-turn epitomizes a trial and error strategy and reveals a disturbing lack of stakeholder engagement prior to the passage of the law. The minority reminded government of its pledges to provide relief to Ghanaians, not to impose additional taxes. According to the minority, government's justification citing global crude oil price volatility due to the Israel-Iran conflict was both hypocritical and dishonest. Spokesperson and head of communication at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, lawyer Richmond Roxon, told TV3 that government's decision is a response to current market volatility.
The government communicated clearly that they will keep monitoring what happens on the international market as well as the exchange rate, and that if there are any challenges or issues, definitely they take a look at it because that's exactly what the president has done. He directed the ministers for energy and green transition as well as the Ministry of Finance to take a look at it, monitor and then advise.
Government had projected to raise between 5 billion Ghana cedis and 6 billion Ghana cedis to support the procurement of liquid fuel. The Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies earlier raised concerns which led to the first postponement of the implementation date from June 9 to June 16. COMAC described the original timeline as an institutional ambush, claiming the directive was issued without adequate consultation. The Commissioner General of the GRA, Anthony Kwesi-Sapon, in a statement on Friday, June 13, said the new implementation date will be communicated in due course.
While the head of public affairs at the West African Examinations Council, John Kapi, says some heads of schools were arrested during the first 3 days of the ongoing BC over exam malpractices. He, however, says the first 3 days have generally been smooth.
Our assessment of the first 3 days of the examination, we believe that we've been able to accomplish whatever task that we had ourselves, basically because we need to get examination material to all the candidates across the country, stationery and question papers, and we have been able to do that. There were a few hitches of delays in some of the areas, but I think on the second day, these issues were resolved. So I would say that so far, things have been quite smooth. In the course of the examination, at least within the first 3 days, there were a number of arrests that were effected. We had one supervisor, and then we had also 2 head teachers who were, distributing photocopied material to the candidates, and I'm sure that they are their own bona fide candidates that they were distributing those items to. We also had a number of teachers who had mobile phones on them. They had taken snapshots and had distributed them to platforms that they belonged to. And then we had also a few others who were really not related to the examination, but some ways or somehow found their way into the examination hall. Well, the WAEC law will be applied. There are fines that may be brought against those people. There are also maybe periods of incarceration depending on the discretion of the presiding judge. So these are some of the penalties that could come their way.
We'll still stay on the BC because the members of parliament have asked the Ministry of Education to ensure schools in rural areas are given equal access of resources to improve teaching and learning. The MPs were commenting to a statement that was made on the floor to urge candidates of the Basic Education Certificate examination to be law-abiding as they write the exams.
To our students, please trust in your preparation. You have worked hard for this. Do not jeopardize your future by attempting to cheat. To school heads and invigilators, you have a duty to uphold fairness and discipline throughout the examination period. WAEC and the Ghana Education Service must intensify supervision, sensitization, and enforcement of sanctions where necessary.
There was a timely release of funds to WAEC for the conduct of the examinations this year. So we need to commend the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Education for collaborating very well to make sure that funds were made available for the conduct of the examinations. WAEC has been complaining over the years for examination malpractices in our schools. And so far, 10 people have been arrested for examination malpractices, including teachers. And it is uncalled for.
It is important for us to build an educational system where children from rural Saboba, rural Penyi, rural Joje equally have the same opportunities as children in East Legon, Adenta, or other parts of the country. I would want to appeal to the Ministry of Education and by extension the entire government that the results that we'll be getting from this year's BEC should be a metric to guide the government in terms of educational investment. Let us see how best we can invest in education in the rural areas so that children in rural Ghana will have the same opportunities as children in other parts of the country.
At the basic level, we are not giving that level the needed resources. As we speak, you still have schools where the children sit outside to learn. And so if you don't give them the basics very well, when they get to the JHS level, it reflects. And this will also reflect in their performance when they sit for the BEC. So it is important to look at education in terms of ensuring that the basics are well fixed.
Well, let's still stay in Parliament but away from education. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagwen, has asked the Finance Minister to include in the mid-year budget funding, including compensation for the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. This was after a statement was made on the floor of Parliament by the MP for Ho West, Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra.
I respectfully request that you issue an administrative fiat directing that the Honourable Minister of Energy and Honourable Minister for Finance to act with urgency on the following. Approve an implementation of allocation of 10% from the UPPF funds margins to PHDC effective immediately. Ensure that a budgetary provision of 300 million is made in the mid-year budget review or upcoming appropriation act for the payment of land compensation related to the Petroleum Hub project. Mr. Speaker, the Petroleum Hub project is not just another infrastructure project. It is a national imperative, a generational legacy, and critical engine for economic transformation.
In recent times, we have seen other countries develop their petroleum hubs, especially when we take a clear look at Nigeria. Ghana, as we speak, can be one of the biggest petroleum hubs in the West Africa, but nothing is being done about it. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the Petroleum Hub has acquired a large land at the Jomoro constituency, which amounts to 300 million cedis. They need help. They need funding to pay for compensations for the farmers and the inhabitants of that locality. I know that when this is established and instituted, the entire country is going to be liberated from the issues of energy.
It is expected that the export tax of about $1.5 billion will be realized by 2030, and the GDP will increase by about 70% by the same period, Mr. Speaker. The downstream petroleum sector is also expected to benefit a lot from the petroleum hub. We have several vessels of bitumen for road construction and base oils for production of lubricants imported into the country every year. With the construction of the petroleum hub specialty phase, all these products will be sourced locally, saving us a lot of foreign exchange.
Mr. Speaker, this will also solve the current crisis that we have in the energy sector, because it is going to attract a lot of petroleum giants into the country.
Urge on the minister in his mid-year review to make provision for the payment of compensation to the landowners in the Jemura area. This is a critical decision, and I think that we should take it on to assist the country to surmount some of the challenges we have when it comes to national development.
Away from Parliament, families, friends and loved ones of Jerry Quenu, a native of Kita, are demanding justice for his death, alleging that 2 police officers were responsible for killing their brother. The group has petitioned both the presidency and the police command, urging them to resolve what they describe as an issue that has remained unresolved for over a year. George Quenu reports.
Jerry Quenu, popularly known as Maya, died in June last year. According to his family, 2 policemen, Erica Santi and Jeremiah Sabute, are responsible for his death. They say a tenant reported him to the police after the deceased confronted the said tenant of damaging his property whilst fixing an air condition. His family and friends say Jerry Quenu, known as Maya, was reportedly beaten by police officers before being taken to the Keta police station, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. They petitioned the presidency and was received by the legal advisor to the president, Marita Brew Opon.
This is my cousin, Jerry Quenu. My cousin, we grew up in Adabraka. This guy is called Jeremiah Sabote, very notorious officer. This guy is called Erica Santi, very, very notorious officer. They murdered him. This petition contains everything. And if action is not taken, the next protest is going to be naked. I'll come and sleep here. As I speak to you, my cousin is not being, listen, he's still lying in the mob.
His Excellency himself asked to receive this petition on his behalf. So he will receive this petition and it will be worked on.
Please, thank you.
The group further petitioned the police command to apprehend 2 of its own officers.
He believes that he's been denied justice and that we have come to support in his demand and quest for justice. I trust that there's a process that will be established, a process that will be transparent enough that we invite the family as well as the continue to grieve, that they will have an opportunity to be able to speak and understand how the process will look for.
The body of Maya is still in the morgue, awaiting burial. According to the petition, the police command, among other responsibilities, must facilitate the transportation of Maya's wife and daughter from Jamaica to witness the burial.
The families, friends and loved ones of Maya are seeking justice, a swift one of course. Hopefully, these petitions will go a long way to achieve that. George Quenu, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's bring you some more news right here on TV3. And the 24-hour Economy Secretariat has kick-started processes to establish 6 textile and garment parks in 6 regions across the country. The initiative, which seeks to revive collapsed textile factories, is also expected to significantly reduce the importation of foreign garments into Ghana.
Economy is a flagship campaign promise aimed at industrializing the country, reducing dependence on imports, and creating sustainable employment opportunities for the youth. As part of this agenda, the Tony Blair Institute is partnering with the 24-hour Economy Secretariat to implement government key projects in the textile and garment sector. The Akonsombo Dwapon Enclave is expected to be transformed into an integrated textile and garment park, where core raw materials will be produced to supply the other factories nationwide. The goal is to ensure a reliable and high-quality domestic input base. By doing so, the integrated textile park will significantly reduce production costs, support backward integration, and boost the competitiveness of Ghana's garment exports.
The idea is to decentralize industrialization through the 24-hour economy program, and also to create concentrated clusters that allow for linkages that create scale, economies, and therefore better pricing and better market access.
The presidential advisor on the 24-hour economy, Gusitano, further explained that the initiative will strategically position Ghana as a competitive hub.
Together with ECOWAS, the opportunity for a unified African market makes Ghana an important gateway for the manufacture of both garments and also fabric. And once we are plugged into that ecosystem, then Africa is our market, and of 1.4 billion people. Already we're starting off with ECOWAS, which is 425 million people. So strategically, Ghana is well located. Ghana stands a great opportunity to be a recipient of foreign direct investment in the textile and garment industry, but also support our own private sector who are already in the business and want to come into the business.
A public-private dialogue aimed at fast-tracking the implementation of the light industrial parks brought together key stakeholders to deliberate on the most efficient pathways to bring the vision to fruition. If successfully implemented, this initiative under the 24-hour economy framework has the potential to transform Ghana's textile and garment sector, enhance export revenue, and create thousands of jobs. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
And before international news, let's take you to the railway sector, where Ghana's railway system has come under serious threat following massive commercial and unauthorized encroachment along its periphery. Among the most alarming issues are the unregulated activities of sex workers operating commercial brothels on the stretch. Stanley Nibleu reports.
Ghana's shuttle services have been grounded, largely due to the distraction of rail lines, faulty coaches, and widespread encroachments along major routes. The situation is especially dire along the Aveno Kwame Nkrumah Circle section of the Accra-Tema Railway, where livestock vendors have overrun the rail lines. These encroachments continue to put lives at risk, with regulatory bodies watching on. On Thursday, June 5th, 2025, Ghana's only functioning shuttle service derailed at Aveno while en route from Accra to Tema. The derailment occurred after vendors tied a grazing cow to the rail line. Railway workers have since manually restored the shuttle onto its tracks.
And the way things are going, if the city authority doesn't help the railways to clear all those people from that place, it will be difficult for train to run for some time to come.
But other human-induced activities at the enclave raise more safety concerns. Along this same stretch, the construction of brothels along the rail line has become increasingly widespread. In 2017, a TV3 investigative report exposed the illicit activities of sex workers in the area, leading to a demolition exercise by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. However, after a fire last year devastated the corridor, destroying all existing brothels, the sex work community has returned, this time with even more structures than before. Even more troubling is the encroachment on portions of the Ghana-Lebanon Islamic Secondary School land by this same community. School authorities and students now live in fear as miscreants affiliated with the sex workers exert increasing influence around the school premises.
These people basically are people that are involved in prostitution, the sale of drugs and the use of drugs, and then engagement in other social vices. So therefore, we found it that it's a matter of urgency that government would have to come in, because these are kids that we are raising for the future of Ghana.
Some residents who spoke to TV3 on grounds of anonymity expressed worry about how some miscreants among the sex workers terrorize others with firearms every night amidst heightened robbery in the area. Accra area manager of the Ghana Railways, George Texan, expressed deep concern, warning of drastic action if leadership continues to fail in addressing the situation.
From today, all those who are employed railway line from Circle to Aveno, or preferably to Achimota, we are going to serve them letters, and you contact the police, railway police, to see to it that we use force to eject them from the places that they have encroached. With immediate effect, we have to take that action. Other than that, the day that it will rain and the trains skip off the rail, it will be difficult for us to bring it back on track.
Vice Chairman of the Railway Workers Union and train driver, Michael Clement, is also calling for urgent steps to restore order along the tracks.
The union wish that they move all of them over there. Besides, railway is not benefiting anything from them.
In Accra, traders have further compounded the problem by conducting active business directly on the rail lines. The continued deterioration of Ghana's railway infrastructure through unchecked encroachment, illegal activity, and institutional neglect paints a bleak picture for the future of safe rail transport in the country. Without immediate coordinated intervention from city authorities, law enforcement, and the Ministry of Transport, the nation risks losing not only a critical mode of transport, but also the lives of its citizens. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
And now on the international front, strikes by Israel and Iran continue as the conflict between the two countries intensifies. On Sunday, Israeli strikes killed the chief of Iran's Armed Forces Intelligence Unit, Mohammad Kazemi. Kazemi died along with his deputy Hassan Mohakek and Commander Mohsen Bakeri in Israeli attacks on Sunday. Iran has responded with drones and ballistic missiles. U.S. President Donald Trump says the two sides should make a deal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, I beg your pardon, says the issue is not de-escalation, but stopping Iran from developing its nuclear capability. And that'll be all for the morning news right here on TV3. Many thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Safwa Boyne. New Day continues with the team.